the trials and tribulations of the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. Today, I'm looking at these two teams because they have a somewhat similar history, at least in recent history. And of course, this is of particular interest to me because of how different it is from LeBron James's history. And the stark contrast of a franchise's approach to success versus a franchise giving away everything to try and accommodate one player. Game 3 just ended, and the defending champs looked like they had life in them yet again. Who knows what will end up happening in this series? One thing is for certain, this matchup does not look the way it looked 1 year ago. I'm looking at the 2022-2023 Minnesota Timberwolves roster. Why? Because these people who keep making excuses for LeBron James or saying that despite this or that, it's worth it for the Lakers to have him. And they're talking about, you got to go all in next year. You know, you got to go all in next year. You only have a little bit of time left with LeBron. Give away what you don't even have left at this point because you've already given it away for LeBron's sake, but make your organization go bankrupt trying to pay him and waste a draft on his son because of what LeBron does for you. Sports and Fitness Reigns and I talked about this a little bit the other day about you're supposed to battle through some adversity and then maybe come out on top the next year or the year after that. So back to why I'm looking at last year's roster. The Nuggets performed a gentleman's sweep on the Timberwolves in round 1 last year. A gentleman's sweep of the same guys that annihilated the defending champs in games 1 and 2. And up until the surprise game 3, people were saying it was going to be a sweep. What happened? What happened between last year and this year? The Timberwolves look crazy right now. They look crazy. They have the same head coach. The guys that you see out on the floor dominating right now, they're all on that roster from last year. Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns, Kyle Anderson. I do see some familiar names, some other guys that are now on the Lakers were on the Timberwolves, but nobody that was out there last night destroying the Nuggets. The guys that were out there destroying the Nuggets were on the roster last year. The point I'm trying to get to eventually is whatever happened between last season and this season, when a team finally gets over a hump, when a team finally clicks, whatever it is. Sometimes it's about 2 seasons. You see them almost make it, but don't quite. Sometimes it's just a complete turnaround. You're not going to ever see that on a LeBron team because they don't get the chance to come together. Every single off-season, hell, every single in-season is never-ending trades or trade rumors, acquisitions or acquisition rumors, or coach firings and hirings. What else about the T-Wolves' success is the exact opposite of the LeBron system? Well, how about draftees? Karl Anthony Towns, drafted by the T-Wolves, 2015. Anthony Edwards, drafted by the T-Wolves, 2020. Naz Reid went undrafted, but then was picked up by the Minnesota Timberwolves in 2019. 2020, Jaden McDaniels, drafted by, guess who? Actually, the Lakers, but was quickly traded away and ended up with the Timberwolves. What was happening with the Lakers at that time that they were giving away all these people? Mike Conley is someone that LeBron James would refer to as a minimum guy. He's balling out right now. He's looking pretty darn good, but he's 36 and has been around the league a little bit. Interesting what you can get out of a guy when you play like a real team. The only transaction that really stands out from those, was the acquisition of Rudy Gobert, a huge contract, and a move that a lot of people didn't think was a great move. It's working out right now, but it was done legally. There's nothing wrong with it. Of all the players on the floor for the Timberwolves right now, that's the one that looks like, oh, let's go out and try and buy our way into success. One. Did I forget Kyle Anderson? Kyle Anderson was not being utilized by the Memphis Grizzlies, and on July 8th, 2022, Anderson signed with the T-Wolves. Again, if he was on LeBron's team, you would call him a minimum, a journeyman. I mean, 3 teams isn't really a journeyman, or is it? I don't know what is a journeyman anymore. These guys bounce around so much. But he went Spurs, Grizzlies, T-Wolves, and he was acquired in a totally legal manner. So predominantly you have draftees and everyone else is legally required. And I'll point out again, whether they were drafted or not, it's the same squad as last year when they went out in the first round. There's no big off-season purchase or changing of the coaches to try and change whatever happened. The Timberwolves look very promising, but they still have to finish off the Nuggets and have a rough road after that as well. So if they don't win it all, does that mean that the LeBron approach is justified? And we go back to something that myself and other content creators like me talk about a lot, and that's a sense of entitlement. There are a lot of NBA players that didn't get a championship, and that's the way it rolls. You can't all get a championship unless you spend your careers bouncing around looking for the right team at the right time, which I guess that's one way to approach it. But the way it used to be was you were part of a team. That was your battalion. That was your squad. And you fought together. And you either made it or you didn't. And there was something commendable about that. It made it fun to watch. It made it be possible to actually get to know a team and get behind a team and root for a team and hope that the next year is their year. Now that might be hard for people now to relate to. And everybody thinks that it's just normal to have a franchise spend all their assets and jump around to wherever the next possible spot is, and even have the referees give your team 700 free throw advantage over the next closest team in free throws. But yeah, things have changed, obviously. As long as the Knicks are on the screen, let's talk about the current Knicks and their run right now. What if they don't make it? What if they get knocked out this round or the next round? You know, the Knicks fans have been sticking with that team and still going to the games, and I think even if they lose this round, it's a win because people have been having a great time watching this team and watching this team fight. So even when you lose, you can win as long as you lose the right way. What you see the Knicks doing, you can really rally behind. Whereas LeBron James, when he has won, he's won the wrong way. And he's cost the franchises everything. All right, let's move on to the Nuggets. I'm going to talk a little bit more about these excuse makers for LeBron James, saying he hasn't had the benefit of a Hall of Fame coacher. I think that goes for a lot of players in the NBA. Not everyone gets to have a Hall of Fame coach, but that's not my point. One hand, they'll say he didn't have a Hall of Fame coach, but he also is the reason that the teams are torn apart, including coaches getting fired or people getting traded away or him leaving. How many people would not go on to be a Hall of Fame coach if the organization didn't stick with the pieces that they had? If every time that a guy who ended up becoming a Hall of Fame coach actually had the rug pulled out from under him, a lot of the people that are Hall of Fame coaches right now would not be Hall of Fame coaches. Let's look at Mike Malone. And we're going to go back to when Mike Malone took over. Does anyone know when Mike Malone took over? Mike Malone has been the head coach of the Denver Nuggets since the 2015-2016 season. And they got Jokic. So those two were together dating back to then. They got Jamal Murray the next year. They drafted Jamal Murray and Malik Beasley. Obviously, Malik Beasley isn't someone we associate with the Denver Nuggets, but since 2016-2017, the Denver Nuggets have had Malone, Jokic, and Murray. They didn't make the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs in 2017-2018, the year after that. They won the first round against the Spurs the next year, 2018-2019, and lost in the second round. 2019-2020 is when they made it to the conference finals and met the Lakers, who would go on to win it all that season. If we want to call it a season. But in any case, that was only their second time sniffing the playoffs in quite a few years. The next season, they lost in the second round. And in 2021-2022, they lost in the first round to the Warriors. 4-1. I didn't even remember that. About that time, or maybe even the season before, a lot of these organizations would be like, okay, this isn't working, time to blow it up. I'm not saying I think that that's correct, but aren't we getting accustomed to seeing that in the league? These guys are like, oh, they want instant gratification. Oh, this isn't working out. Something's got to change. We have our players. It must be the coach. We've got our core guys in Jamal and Jokic. A lot of these teams, I think, would have blown it up. They would have changed something. But guess what? They didn't. And they won the next year. 22-23. They won it all. Imagine LeBron James being on a team that went through 8 seasons. 8 seasons of patience and working through whatever the problems were to finally achieve the ultimate goal. Now, do you think Mike Malone is considered a great coach? Do you think he's going to go down in history as a great coach? The answer is yes. Is he going to be a Hall of Fame coach? I don't know. But those chances of becoming a Hall of Fame coach would not even exist if LeBron James had been on that team. They would never have tolerated those first years, the hardship, and even the panicky years when they thought they got over the hump and then fell backward. Never would have happened. With LeBron James, they try to gift that guy championships everywhere he goes by bending over backwards to bring it to him as quickly as possible. So we got the 2015-2016 16 season. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons of disappointment. And then there was number 8. Who, especially at this stage, would ever go through 7 seasons of loss with LeBron James without getting fired? Try going 2. So they say LeBron James hasn't had the benefit of a Hall of Fame coach. How many people that might have been Hall of Fame coaches never became Hall of Fame coaches because of LeBron James? LeBron James and the tendency to blow things up. Here's the question to leave you with. If the Timberwolves actually managed not to get past the Nuggets again, what would you do? Would you blow it up? Or would you persevere? Would you say, man, it's the defending champs. We're just going to have to keep battling past these guys, hope for better next year? Or go for something drastic. The Nuggets are the defending champs, but they might get knocked off the throne. What do? You say, oh, hey, it's tough to go back to back, but let's regroup next year. Or do you say, we need some fresh legs? What would you do?